Today on Dealmaker Diaries, we're breaking down a story that blends music, tech, culture, and capital. It's a tale of perception versus strategy, of branding battles and billionaire chess moves. This is the business case of Tidal, the Norwegian music streaming startup that Jay-Z turned into a case study in high-risk brand flipping, and eventually sold to Jack Dorsey in a play that puzzled the press, but made perfect sense to dealmakers. This is not just about music. This is about control, narrative, valuation. Let's unpack it. The story begins not in New York or Silicon Valley, but in Norway, where a company named Aspiro was quietly working on a streaming platform called YMP. Yes, YMP, later rebranded as Tidal for international markets. Launched in 2014, Tidal was built around lossless audio, streaming music at CD quality or better, something Spotify didn't offer at the time. But they had a problem. They were technically sound, but commercially irrelevant. They had less than 1 million subscribers globally and no market dominance. Still, they had a solid backend, licenses with major labels, and a foundation that someone with vision could build on. Enter Sean Jay-Z Carter. In early 2015, Jay-Z, through his investment firm Project Panther Bidco, offered approximately $56 million to acquire Aspiro, the parent company of Tidal. The deal caught the media off guard. Why was a rapper buying a failing Scandinavian streaming service? But for Jay-Z, this wasn't a music play. It was a power move. He understood what most media didn't. Streaming wasn't just the future, it was control. And artists had none of it. At the time, Spotify and Apple Music paid fractions of a cent per stream. Jay-Z saw a model where artists were shareholders, not just content suppliers. And unlike building from scratch, Aspiro gave him a licensed, operating streaming platform with back-end infrastructure already in place. In March 2015, Jay-Z relaunched Tidal with a press conference straight out of a Marvel movie. It featured music royalties signing a so-called artist declaration: Beyoncé, Rihanna, Madonna, Kanye, Nicki Minaj, J. Cole, Daft Punk, and more. Tidal was now positioned as the first artist-owned platform, with high-fidelity streaming, exclusive releases, and promises of better royalties. But here's the rub. The press hated it. To many, it looked like a bunch of millionaire artists begging for more money from a struggling middle class. The message, "Support the artists," rang hollow when those artists were already the 1%, and the backlash was immediate. Tidal didn't take off the way its founders hoped. Spotify had already achieved escape velocity. Apple Music entered the scene with iTunes cloud and hardware integration. Tidal, in comparison, struggled to carve out more than a few million subscribers. Yet Jay-Z kept the platform alive using exclusives and smart positioning. Beyoncé's Lemonade and Kanye West's The Life of Pablo both launched exclusively on Tidal, even crashing the servers during their debuts. In 2017, Jay-Z dropped 444, an album that doubled as both an artistic and entrepreneurial manifesto. Its rollout? You guessed it, Tidal exclusive. By now, Jay-Z wasn't trying to beat Spotify. He was building brand equity, increasing Tidal's valuation, and demonstrating market relevance in a niche, artist-friendly, high-end music distribution. Then, in March 2021, Jay-Z made his move. Square Incorporated, the fintech company founded by Twitter's Jack Dorsey, announced it was acquiring a majority stake in Tidal for $297 million in cash and stock. Jay-Z would join Square's board of directors. The world asked, why would a fintech company buy a struggling music platform? But dealmakers saw the logic. Jack Dorsey envisioned creator ecosystems, where commerce, blockchain, tipping, NFTs, and music content could all live under one roof. In his mind, empowering musicians was no different than empowering small business owners. In his words, we're building tools for artists to own their work, monetize it directly, and connect with fans. And for Jay-Z, the math was even simpler. $56 million in, $297 million out, plus a seat at the table of a multi-billion-dollar fintech empire. Tidal never became the Spotify killer. It never dominated the market, and it wasn't loved by critics or casual users. But that was never the game Jay-Z was playing. He wasn't building a streaming giant. He was building ownership, equity, and influence, and ultimately, leverage. He took a distressed asset, applied his brand power, shifted the narrative, and created enough cultural gravity to sell it to a fintech visionary looking for his next big integration. And in doing so, Jay-Z reminded the world that disruption isn't always loud. Sometimes, it's strategic. From rapper to mogul, To board member of a fintech giant, Jay-Z turned Tidal into a lesson in visionary investing, brand positioning, and long-game execution. It wasn't just a music play. It was a dealmaker move. This has been Dealmaker Diaries. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Was Tidal brilliant business? Or just great branding? Until next time, keep stacking deals and thinking like an owner.